Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Steve UKG. So, so we always do gaming videos. So, right now, first time after a long time, we are going back into coding and other stuff. So, the recent thing that I found is there is a recent note from Firebase that they have deprecated the endpoint basically. Actually, they had shut it down around July 22nd, 2024. So, uh, there is a recent changes that has been made by Firebase for triggering notifications. So, earlier, there was a common function where we used to trigger FCM/send. So, in Node, so right now we'll be talking specifically to Node. So, in Node, we have a specific function or a package where we can just install the FCM node and trigger directly using this FCM.send. So right now what this does is, if you can see, once you go inside this library function, finally there will be an endpoint where they trigger the FCM.node. Let me just copy paste and check this. /FCM/send. Oh, yes. Yeah. As you can see right now, /FCM/send is being triggered. So this hasn't been changed in the node versions also, like node packaging. So right now you can either you have to change the entire function. There are two methods, actually three, but I'm suggesting only two. So we'll dig into it later. So right now, if you guys are triggering this via node, so or via any other application, example Python or front end or back end, from anywhere that you're using this package fcm.node or this exact URL, so it will throw an error saying that the endpoint that has been that you have been triggered is deprecated. So let us get into it deeper. So they made this as a version v1. So there was a new version released right now. So earlier we used to pass the FCM key. So what is FCM server key? Earlier there was a server key given by the Firebase projects. I'll just show you. So in a project, this is how the Firebase page here looks like in the web browser. So here, if you have multiple projects, you can have each project categorized. So if there is a project, when you open, there will always be a server key or the FCM Firebase notification server key. So this notification server key is used to trigger the notification via the internal via the function that is fcm.send. Right now, if you trigger that with that token, it will not work. So it will say throw an error saying that endpoint is deprecated. So we'll just solve this. How to solve this? So let's go to the document directly. I'll just give a quick glance. The document is clear, but not too clear. That is why this video is for. So as you can see, as the endpoint is deprecated right now, they are asking us for the authentication. Earlier there was no authentication. If you have a token, you can store it and directly you can trigger the notification. Right now they're requesting a token where you can trigger with some authentication. So as you can see, the Google, as they have provided, the Firebase has provided three kinds of options. One is ADC. The ADC is the clear and correct method. It can be done in both front end and back end. Service account JSON file. If you are having, I'll tell you what is that later. I don't want to get right now. And short-lived OAuth 2.0 access token. So derived from the service. Same thing. You can use that service account JSON and trigger the second. Using that, you have to trigger Google and Auth token and trigger again the same endpoint given by the Firebase. This is the three methods that they have given. Excuse me. So let's get into it on the first point. So the first thing is provide credentials using ADC. So right now, if you have a example, if you have Firebase or your project or your product is running on the any cloud functionalities, like any cloud on any clouds like Google engine, or if you can see they have provided clearly any cloud functions. So you can use this ADC. If you are running anything on the non-environment Google, you have to use the download.js file. So I'll tell you where to get this service account.json. So if you have a project, so here right now, this is how the projects page looks like. For an example, I don't have any projects right now, so I'll just show you. Once you click on project settings, on the bottom there will be a you have flat apps and app Android and app iOS. So as you can see, you have a Google services.json. So I'll just download this and I'll open it to you. So as you guys can see, this is the entire JSON, but this is not how the JSON looks like. Once there is a what do you say? Let me check in the integrity, not integrity. So you have app as well as the iOS. If you have the web services, you will have another JSON which has the private key. So there is nothing. The JSON that we are using contains a private key. So that is the main thing that we are going to use to trigger get the token or use the first method or second method, whatever. But project ID and the JSON, the project ID and the private key is very important for the notification to be triggered. So I'll just show you. You can close this. In the previous older versions, this is how the format looks like if you had written for messaging, notification. So we have a token and notification and all the necessary things. What FCM.send does is it will auth your token, and based on that it will trigger the message to the user. This token is nothing but the your mobile app registered token. Example, I am a user who is logged in into what do you say? Example, I can take Snapchat. So if I am logged in, if I am logged in and my app is on the background, how notifications are triggered? Using this token, you from the FCM.send we trigger a notification. This is how things work. Right now, this is deprecated. So how how to write the new part? I have already written it. I'm just gonna go with it. So on the first method one, so the ADC method, what they have sent is, so for this you'll be requiring one, that is the one package to be installed. If you are already using Firebase admin, then I think it should not be a problem. So we'll just gonna install npm install Firebase admin. So what this does is directly uses your private JSON and token, and it will directly install, what do you say, it will directly utilize without any additional cost of the Google or anything. So I'm just downloading. Let's see. Once I download this, so keeps on getting time. So before that, I'll show you. So how does a JSON? You will have a private key, add a private key or create a private key in your Firebase project. You can just click on that. Companies and all, they provide access only to the higher persons. You can just get from them. So you will have a JSON, and in that JSON, and this is how that JSON looks like. I'll show you test.json. If you can see the project example, if you are having a web project, you can see the type of that project. I have just added test account, project ID. This is the important key. So just focus on this. I'm sorry. IMPORTANT. Yes. This is the important key that we are going to use, and the private key. So since a JSON contains private key, the private key JSONs are only a private key always needs to be stored in the AWS secrets. So I know it costs, or as per the AWS, it may cost around $0.012 or something for a month based on the calls. I don't know exactly pricing, but still, you always have to store this in the secrets, and you have to find a way how to fetch it from the secrets. So once you fetch this JSON, it is very easy. All you need is this project ID and the private key. I'll just mark this as IMP. So these are the two things. And client email. Client email, you can either copy paste it from your project, put it in the envs or whatever you guys want to do. client email is very priority. Once these are done, all these are the three keys that are important in the JSON in your project.json file. So once you get this, so and the first thing is that we need to do is install the Firebase admin package. Once that is done, you just have to extract. These are all not required for now. I'll just show you when it is required. So first thing is we extract that JSON. You can use AWS secrets. You basically how to fetch from the AWS secrets. Passing the secrets key and fetching it from them is simple thing as making a URL call or a post call. So once you get this server key JSON, which is nothing but the JSON, which is given by the project Google Firebase. So you just create your existing body. Earlier, the body request body was different. Right now, it is very different. So I have added in the, I've added here, as you can see on the bottom. I'll be sharing this link in the description. So there is earlier we used to pass two data. Now we have to pass a key where under message you have to send everything. So here I'm just passing request body, and if you are using this method, I don't think we need to follow this. You can follow in the same way, but the token is mandatory always, and the notification, this is for the iOS part. Once by default it can be, I don't know, based on your requirements batch can change. So data can be your existing data, on click of what should happen, where should it navigate, exactly same thing. And one more thing to notice here, if you have a nested array, example I can show you test here. If you are passing any test, it can have a nested array saying again I have to pass test to 1 colon hi. If I am doing this, the FCM would fail this request as it says invalid request when it is ready. So whenever you are passing anything on the data, it should always be JSON.stringify. So once this is done, you just have to give a JSON.string stringify open and close. So I'll just copy paste this entire command. So test colon test colon, yeah. So this is how your data should be. So I save. I think I have yeah. What am I missing? This is there. Okay, I have to create one more. Hmm. What is this error? Expected. Okay, sorry. Expected account. So, yeah. this is how the this is how you should have if you are having a nested array. So basically, nested nested JSON should be added every time. If you have a nested JSON, just pass it as JSON.stringify. So what it does is instead of passing in a nested JSON, it just passes as a string. So once they decode it, it will be easy for you. Once you decode entire thing into a JSON, what do you say, a JSON pass, it will automatically change. So whenever you are changing it to JSON, const JSON to require of JSON. I think this is correct. If I'm correct, fine. This is the thing. So once you are done with your request, so what and all the existing flow, the first thing that we need to check is the first thing that we need to do is initialize the app. So normally initializing is done in front end. Why back end? We can reduce the Google cost. So on the second method, we have to get the token from the Google, so which can again cost. And also once you even AWS, now first thing is from secrets, second thing is AWS again will cost, and third thing is again Google will cost, and post that Firebase is always costing us for the notification. So instead of reducing these costs, we use this method. So first thing is we have to check the why the first condition is written as we have to check if the app is already initialized. So if you already initialized, I don't know the initialized spelling, NITIA, LIs or DD. Yeah. App is initialized or not. If you have more than one app, so Firebase will throw an error saying duplicate apps have been specified. So once you check that, the second thing is we have to initialize the app. So if you don't have any apps initialized when you're running for the first time, this is the method that they use. So I think we already have initialize app. Let me check. No, we don't have yet. Yeah, here. So Google has provided this in the simple way. So instead of doing that, we have to pass the project ID, and if we can see, we have admin credentials by default. If you are initializing the app, that would cause the problem. So instead of that, whatever the service JSON that we have entirely, you can pass it here, and the project ID. So whatever the service JSON ID and service JSON which you get, which contains all the private key and everything, and the once you are initializing the app, you should have you should have project ID set. If you are working on multiple projects, this will help to identify which project are you utilizing. So this is the correct method. Once you initialize the app, let's say now we have a common function given by the Firebase right now is admin. That is nothing but the Firebase admin messaging.send. So once you trigger the messaging.send, a notification will be triggered along with the message ID. There will not be any true or false. If any error occurs, they'll just provide the entire error. So if you have and also they would directly reject. So promise, no promise, reject, resolve we have, right? So in that they would directly reject the error, and so make sure you handle it everything in the try catch block so that you can handle error easily. So add bot alerts so that in the future if they change something, so you get a notification, add logs to minimize your effort on logging part day to day. So once your notification is sent, you just have to check that. So no device token, I think everybody knows how to fetch that. If not, there'll be a separate demo where we can how to get the device token and everything. It's the first part. So I'll just show you whoever has these projects set up already. So this is the first thing. Once the response is done, you can check the notification. Every time the app should be in the background, or you can trigger by default in the by default you can trigger and check once. So also there is a param where you can pass a specific keywords to the specific what do you say device specification. Sorry, basically you can pass only give the priority to Android or iOS. Most apps, they do not provide iOS. So I'm a Samsung user purely. So if I'm using Samsung, I just you can provide provide an key where you can say Android comma saying that the priority should be top priority or something, whatever you want to do. So this is how you can solve for the notification part. So right now I hope it is clear till here. The second method, right now, the JSON that contains the client email and the private key and everything will be utilized here. Okay, so for this thing we need another API. We need another module which is nothing but the Google API. If you are already installed, nothing, but we still require Google APIs. So what Google API does is, first thing, the JSON that you have, we will have it stored. We will pass it to a function, right? Basically write a function where you can pass all these things. So we have a scope is by default. You can specify this saying Google APIs auth firebase dot messaging. Either you can copy this, copy paste it here directly, or you can put it in the env in this format. Adding links in the env will be easy to change for when you are using a cloud based environment. So once you get that, you can also have the client email, the key that needs to be passed, and the private key. So private key is the most important part for a token generation. So basically the second method works in an OAuth method. So it is called as OAuth method. OAuth method basically. So what OAuth method does is it provides it, you have to use that JSON to create a token. Using that token, you just trigger the what do you say, kind of a post call to make the notification. That is the logic for here. So first on the token generation part, once these are done, you just create an authorization token using the Google. So as you can see, I have initialized on the term. So once this is done, you can just directly trigger. You can use a sync await function if you're using inside out. So as you can see, authorize, you can with JW client, the client key dot authorize. What authorize does is it will create a token based on this private key, email, and whatever the project you have specified here. So using this, it creates a token and gives you the access token to trigger the Firebase notification. So once you get the token, so just directly passing it to the API that is provided by the Firebase. I'll just show you where the Firebase have mentioned this in the link. So as you can see, earlier the endpoint was this. Now you can trigger this. So people who are using apart from Node, no common function, they can use in this method, which is very clear. But the cost may increase in as per the Google. Okay, this again will go to Google consoles where you have to check the pricing of the key and everything based on your ID and everything. So as you can see, so the only thing that commonly even I failed was to rectify that there is a project ID required here. So if you can see, I've made a clean key where it says project ID and I'm replacing the project ID with mine. I just written it wrongly. Okay, I'm just returning the URL where I have the project ID replaced here so that I can trigger specific to my project the notification. Once you set the URL, same request. If you can see, there is a small difference here. Here we do not pass the message. There is an object called message. Under that we have everything. And here if you see, we have that. We do not have that here on the top. Basically, these are the two differences that we can find again. So once you are formed with them, you can just use Axios, which is another module required to trigger post call, get call, or the functionality. Or you can just use request jot, which is an inbuilt given by the node. You can use that to trigger the notification via the URL. So using this, you can easily make the changes required from navigate from migrating FCM.send to FCM, the Google provided options. These are the two methods. On the third method is same as that. Instead of, if you are okay confident with storing in your local, you can just go with the local storing of your JSON test JSON similar way which I have done, and just copy paste it and get done with it. So yeah, I have given a clear cut view on how things can be done. So there are other methods on the Firebase. So this is what I followed to be easy and clear. So as you can see, I'll just give a quick intro on how much the pricing would cost if I'm correct. So first thing is you need two new packages needs to be installed. This is not required as per my concern, Axios. So and post that you should have secrets, which is AWS secrets, again a cost. First cost is AWS secrets, and the second thing is handling the token. So token handling again will cost you again. Token handling will again triggering the Google Auth, which again will cost you, and post that finally triggering the FCM URL, it will be charged against your project obviously. So three cost will occur here. On the first method, I think two cost will occur: secrets as well as the FCM, Firebase triggering based on the project ID. So there are other methods in the what is that in the document. You can trigger how to trigger multiple how to trigger multiple device tokens in a single call. So you can just go through the documents. For right now, handling for one is this is the way, and this is the response that is given. As I said, either it gives the response in this way. Only thing is it will give a message with the message ID and along with your project ID, whatever you have been sent. If you don't get this, then something had happened. You have to check that error. So most commonly, the message that you're sending, example, the initialize app has it, it should have the same matching signature key with your mobile logged in or the web logged in. If it does not have, then it might cause again an error. It might say project ID mismatch or project ID mismatch every time, or signature key not found. And the third error which I commonly found was what do you say? Most devices do not allow the allow you to give the token. Example, some people do not allow your apps to give the token or the personal info. In that case, you have to handle those conditions. Now make sure you handle all these things in a try catch block so that you do not break your existing code level. So yeah, thank you so much. Like and subscribe. Happy coding. So I hope this solves everything on the node part, or commonly you can write the second method in your Python or your TypeScript or whatever in a front end. This is how the flow works. So yeah, thank you. Bye bye. See you on the next video.